San Diego 6 News in the morning.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us this morning. We're talking about an issue that can be a true challenge for parents who may have a child with dyslexia, autism, and any other on that spectrum. We're joined this morning by Laura Kasbar, who has a very special story. You're also a mother of 7, we were just chatting about during the break.
Yes, I am.
How do you do it, Laura?
Well, most of them are adults, so it's easy. Actually, they help me. But 15 years ago, my twins were diagnosed with autism, and my son Max did not respond to therapy. So I developed a filming method called discrete video modeling. And using that, he was able to catch up to his peers by the time he was 7 years old. He and his twin sister went to college at 16 years old. They're doing fabulously. We launched to the public just 6 months ago, and after, well, 14 years of research. And in that short amount of time, we are now in 25 countries. We are helping people with Down syndrome, with articulation needs, dyslexia, traumatic brain injury, not just autism. So it's got a wide range of appeal, and it's very exciting. The results are actually tremendous.
To put this in context for parents who maybe don't understand how much of a struggle it could be having a child who's autistic, how significant is it that they're able to go from being nonverbal to speaking full sentences?
When you have someone who's been in therapy for a long time and with no results, it's very rare, actually. So usually they start responding pretty quickly, or if they don't, sometimes they remain nonverbal their entire lives, and that's actually common. So to get someone from nonverbal after therapy is now actually very common with Gemiini.
With the system that you developed,
right.
And you say it's discrete video modeling.
Right.
So what does that mean in terms of how you're teaching the child?
We break up all of the information taught to a child in very small little bits, so that they can process them much easier than in real life.
And we're seeing on the screen, Laura, pictures of a cat and a person sort of showing emotion. Is that
right.
what it is? It's linking these images to an emotion or a word?
It's linking them to a concept or an idea. So here you see pants. All you would hear on the screen is the word pants. You would see nothing else and hear nothing else. So the children are able to discern specifically what is the most important part of that information. And they learn within seconds instead of days or months. It's very rapid.
Really? So it might take a child to learn just a simple word like pants months to learn that before?
Yes, with traditional therapy it can take months, or not at all.
And how many, do you have any numbers in terms of how many children have gone through the Gemiini, the DVM program?
Now we have thousands of children who participated in the program.
And what's their success like?
We have success with about 90% of the people who we've used it with. We have people with low verbal skills are learning to talk in a matter of weeks. People with apraxia are communicating better than ever before, and expressive language is starting to come. Teachers who use Gemiini in the classroom are seeing tremendous results. Even older teenagers who can be violent, they are calm using Gemiini. They're meeting their IEP goals for the year in just a matter of weeks, which was unheard of before. So the people with dyslexia who are scoring at less than 20% of their comprehension scores are now scoring 100% in just a few weeks. So the results are dramatic, actually, really dramatic.
I imagine parents come to you with just
tears.
Tears.
Tears. I cry too.
Gratitude.
We're all crying, yes. It's very emotional. It's every day. In fact, I put their responses and their emails and the texts on their Facebook page, and you read it, you wouldn't believe it unless you actually saw it from the parents. It's, like I said, dramatic.
And so for any parents or teachers out there who may want to learn more about discrete video modeling and Gemiini, where can they go to learn more about that?
Well, they can go to our website, Gemiini.org.
Great, and it is Gemiini.org.
Yeah, there's 2 little eyes for my twins in the middle. Right.
Oh, that's great. Laura, thank you so much for talking with us this morning. I know that it's got to be encouraging for parents out there who may struggle with this with their own children.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura.
All right.
And again, Gemiini.org if you want to learn more about that.
Hello, I'm Laura Kasbar, and when my twins were 3 years old, they were diagnosed with autism. With intensive therapy, my daughter began to speak, but my son wasn't getting it. After months of therapy, he still didn't know one single word. He was 3.5 years old with the language of a 10-month-old baby. My quest to learn how to reach my son led me to adults on the spectrum who could explain to me how they perceive the world. From those conversations, I developed the filming method that has become discrete video modeling, or DVM. The first day my son saw these videos, he said his first word. In a few weeks, he was learning 30 words a week. This is a graph of Max's language before we started Gemiini. Here is the language acceleration of a typical child, and this was Max. At the rate he was going, he would be lucky to have language ability of a 2-year-old when he was 10. Now, this is what happened when we started using Gemiini. You can see that Max's language took off. He crossed the average mean when he was 7 and crossed the gifted line when he was 14. Here's a video of Max just before we started DVM, and then again a few weeks later.
What are you doing, Max?
Hey, Max! Max! Say cheese!
Cheese.
Max, how old are you?
3.
What's your name?
Max.
What's your last name?
Kiss bar.
Good job. What do you want?
I want house, please.
Okay, go get the house. Here it is.
That video was 14 years ago, and you may be wondering how the story ends. The twins entered college at 16 and are both very verbal. They attend youth legislature events and participate in public speaking. They still need a little more support than others may need in some classes, but for the most part, they are pretty independent. Now, autism is a lifelong disorder, but that isn't going to stop them from having a happy, independent life like anyone else. Our first group trial was a pilot study in a classroom with 8 children with autism. 6 of the children were low verbal and 2 were nonverbal despite 3 years of therapy. These 2 children had no language at all, not even verbal imitation of sounds. The trial was started in September, and by January, all children had improved greatly, and the 2 nonverbal children were speaking in complete sentences. This gave me the proof I needed that my little Max was not just an outlier, but that I had something that could work with most kids. We have since had trials with the Los Angeles County School District at Inglewood, California, Gonzaga University, the Eden Center at Princeton, Spokane Public Schools, and internationally in South Africa. Just like little Max, Gemiini has shown to be successful even at reaching people who have not previously responded to other sorts of therapy. Our trials have shown us that Gemiini isn't just for autism. Children with Down syndrome and language delay have done even better. We've also used Gemiini to teach reading to young children and to students who have fallen behind their peers. Children go from the bottom of the class in reading to the top of the class in just a few months using the program. Although we have a strong research base with language learning, we are just beginning studies with the reading program. Initial results are very encouraging and we'll keep you updated with published studies. In our research, we've learned that Gemiini works with about 90% of people with language disorders and about 70% of the most severely affected. We also learned that if Gemiini isn't used correctly, you may not see any improvement at all. And this is why. Half the children love Gemiini and want to watch it all the time. Some children are ambivalent, and about 30% actually do not like the videos at all. If there's one thing I want you to take away, it is this. Kids don't have to like Gemiini for it to work. My own son hated the videos, but he learned everything from them for years. Why do some kids hate Gemiini? Well, people with autism generally like to retreat into their own world. Gemiini sort of forces the viewer to engage in our world by making them pay attention to information which is crucial to language. Other kinds of videos, like cartoons, can actually encourage children to retreat. For about 30% of kids, the forced attention of Gemiini can be uncomfortable, and there is the danger of developing aversion to it. To counter this aversion, we suggest that you begin using Gemiini home sessions with your child when your child's eating. So 3 times a day, twice through at each meal. If they like them, you can expand the time. To accelerate learning, it is best to have your child watch in groups. For little kids, if you can get the school to use the videos for the entire class, that is optimal. But if not, you can do this simple trick. Place the computer monitor or laptop at the head of the table while the family is eating dinner. Have everyone at the table copy the words and animal sounds along with the video. This will allow your child to actually participate in family time and encourage joint attention, which is shown to be the #1 early indicator of eventual language fluency. Over time, the sessions will move from single word labels to short phrases. Once your child starts to independently engage with family conversation, you can remove the computer. Don't stay on any one video session for longer than a week. Even if it looks like your child isn't getting it, believe me, he's getting it, and you just run the risk of boring him to death. You can also watch the Day in the Life of a Gemiini Child video for more ideas on viewing strategies. We have had some children respond amazingly the first week of Gemiini, but others, especially nonverbal children, have taken months to respond. As a parent of kids with special needs myself, I suggest that you try Gemiini for 6 months before giving up. Also, get the school and therapist involved as much as possible. It's always best to be used in conjunction with a robust therapy program, but considering the scarcity of services in some areas, you may not have that luxury. Don't worry, Gemiini can be used alone if need be. If you are fortunate to have one-to-one therapy for your child, the addition of Gemiini has been shown to increase language substantially. A typical hour of therapy looks something like this, with most of the time being spent on input, usually using flashcards, data recording, prep time, and review. Only about 15% of the time is spent on generalization or getting the child to actually use his language, which is the most important piece. With Gemiini, the input of the information, prep time, and review can be offloaded to the computer and can be done at home for as long as you want. This leaves the majority of the live therapy session open for generalization and getting the child to use his newly acquired language. It makes each therapy session 4 times as effective. If your child has less than 30 words of meaningful speech, then click on Quick Start Language, which will get you started immediately. If he needs a more customized approach, then watch the Create New Session video to see how to create customized curriculum from our pre-filmed video library of over 10,000 words. It literally takes less than 2 minutes to create 10 hours of effective therapy time.
So in my preschool, the kids come for 2.5 hours for 4 days a week, and as we try and do as much as we can therapy-wise in that short amount of time, but if parents are following through with this video, and we can have therapists following through with this video, and it's just consistent, I like a team approach, and that is always the most beneficial for the kids. Before Gemiini, DeMarcus was nonverbal, and he had a hard time following instructions. So when we'd say clean up, he would not clean up. And so then after Gemiini came along, he started to initiate with his peers. He started following directions. I would say clean up, and he cleaned up and came to circle independently without any prompting. And also, DeMarcus, since he's nonverbal, we were using a lot of sign with DeMarcus, or trying to, and he wasn't doing any of the copying the signs that we were doing. So then after Gemiini, one of the things that was on the video at first was fish and crab. And so he watched the video, and along with the video he was going, "What does a crab say?" And he was doing the signs immediately. So that was really exciting. And then also that same day I was doing Slippery Fish at Circle, which is a song that we do a lot in preschool. And he started making the fish face with his mouth, which is something that's very hard to do, to get that mouth closure, and we've never seen it with DeMarcus before. So he started going, which was really exciting. So we all cheered, and it was a big party, but we've seen great growth with him.
I'm the physical therapist. I come in once a week, and I see kids in small groups. So I have children with autism, children with Down syndrome. DeMarcus is a whirling dervish. He is in constant movement. I'm trying to teach him to slow down, to pay attention to what he's doing, because he tends to fall and is always in forward momentum. Since Gemiini started, he's stopping, he's looking at what I'm doing, he's recognizing, there's a stop sign. He's recognizing that he needs to stop. He's recognizing that what I'm doing, he, for whatever reason, wants to imitate. And that's really cool. That the implications of this for my world are huge.
We have a little boy in our classroom with echolalia, and it's very hard to get him to functionally communicate because he's repeating everything that we're saying all day long. And so if I ask him a question, he just parrots what I ask, and he does it with videos and with other IAs and with other specialists throughout the classroom. So he watched the Gemiini video about no repeating and to try and stop echolalia from happening in the classroom and in other settings. And we went to circle time, and one of the questions that I ask is, "What's your job today?" And normally he says, "What's your job today?" right after I ask him the question. But that particular day he said, "I'm the weather helper." And it was amazing. He's never done that before, so that was very exciting. He started pointing out things that he would see outside the window, which he never did, especially unprompted. He just said, "Look, there's a squirrel." And at snack he was requesting. He also has a really hard time with his colors, and that's something that we've been working on a lot. And I told him to go sit at the red table, and he pointed at it and he said, "That's the red table." So that was huge, huge growth for him. About 2 hours from the time he saw the video till the end of the day, and he had accomplished all those things. I have differently abled children in this room, and some are severely impacted, and some are just here for articulation needs. And so the program is so great because I can turn on one video session, and Gemiini really targets it for all of my students. So they're all learning something out of it, and they're all really engaged. A lot of times I'll turn it on not expecting that the kids are all going to go watch the video, and before I know it, all 13 of them are sitting around the screen going, "Crab!" And even though some of them know that, they're still working on engaging with those nonverbal kids, and they need that peer model. So it's really exciting to see that happening within the classroom.
Levi is a student with autism that I've been working with for about 3 years, and I absolutely love Levi. Levi is just one of those kids that you want to get in their head, you want to figure them out, you want to help them be successful because you know that it's there, you just don't know how to tap into it. So we've been working with him, and he's making motor gains, but nothing great. Well, what I'm seeing since Gemiini is all of a sudden this child that when things got hard, he would start to shut down. Now all of a sudden he's challenging himself to want to imitate what I and what the other children are doing. That's very exciting for a child with autism because the implications for his life and his future are huge if he can do that. And he's engaged, he's making eye contact, he's coming up to me and holding my hand and taking me over obstacles. It's great stuff.
Things that we have tried to teach the kids in 3 years, in 3 weeks, they're making these gains. And it's just amazing. It brings me to tears all the time because I can't believe the kids are doing what they're doing.
It almost like unlocked a door, and it made that what we've taught them in all those years of hard work, all those things came flooding to the surface, and they started playing with peers appropriately and hanging their backpack up on their hook when they weren't ever. And those videos those weren't what they were watching. Those skills were what we've taught them, but because of Gemiini, they were able to show us what they really knew. As a teacher, when you have a tool that's so easy to use like Gemiini that can produce results like we've seen, it's amazing. And it really makes you feel like what we're doing has been working. They just haven't been able to get that out or to show us that they're learning. So through Gemiini, we've been able to prove, yay, you know, the teachers are working hard, the therapists are working hard, and the kids are learning. I want to go to school every single day and see what they're going to do next because we literally have a party in here every day, and we are celebrating the kids' successes like we never have before.
I just have to say, this has been the coolest experience for me. But the last month, I was working with a group of kids, and all of a sudden my children that absolutely were usually spinning and running and doing all the craziness, they were watching what I was doing, and they were modeling the exact body movements that I was doing, which are not easy for their bodies. And so I kind of went, okay, something is different, something is going on. I need to find out what's going on because these kids are different than they were a month ago. So I go talk to Ellie, and she said, Gemiini. Gemiini is what we're doing. And so I went and I watched the videos, and I'm like, there's no way that this video can have this kind of carryover in gross motor. How is that possible? But it's possible because it's happening, and I'm seeing it every day now. It's great.
Elephant. 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 Lizard. 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 Bear. Bear. Bear.
Cow. Ow.
Cow.
Cow.
What does a cow say?
Cat. Boo. Boo.
We love to hear how your children are doing with Gemiini, so please send us updates and any suggestions for new content that you may need. Thank you from myself and the Gemiini team.